Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so I can show you, excuse me, so I can show you out my window. I was trying to find a way to bring you to the back bay. I might figure this out eventually to get a hotspot and everything, but for right now, at my window, this is my view. And I just took a photo of it because I just can't quite get this all worked out with the cameras. But anyway, so here's a still shot of it. Painting from life, because that's what I'm always telling you, painting from life is super important rather than from photos, because as I'm even looking at this photo here, it's slightly different. It didn't capture the light quite as much, and the depth. The shadows go way darker than they are, different things like that. Um, but I want to show you this just to show you some compositional choices that I can make. Of course, the street is out here, and I really rarely or never, no, I should say I've never painted those cars. Every now and then I think maybe I'll paint the cars, but I don't like the cars. They're loud. But my view is right across the street. My window is here and I'm looking right out at this. And it's a great view. So without the cars. But as I'm looking, it's like what got my attention. Often the water does, usually over this other direction is where the sun is setting and it's just gorgeous. But right now in daylight, I've got this orange roof line that's brighter than what it's showing here in the photo. But even if, even if it wasn't, and that's what caught my eye, and I want my viewer to go to that, that might be what my painting is about. My painting also could be about the way the light's hitting the branch. I love the way the light hits the branch, and just, it's really beautiful the way it's bouncing off that right now. I don't like the pole here behind it, or that part of the uh, window actually. I don't want to see. So things like that, I would not include that. You can eliminate things. You can say, okay, my painting is only going to be about those houses and those trees, or it's only going to be about this tree and the water over here. Whatever it is what it is. You're really okay to make those compositional choices. What do you want your painting to be about? As you start, yeah, if you're going to do a little thumbnail first as a guideline, think about what it is. Start sketching. Maybe it's just that little sketch there of that negative space in here or up here. Maybe it's this area here. So make your choice. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. I can then blow up, of course not here, but to see. This helps me with my thumbnail. And that is one way you can go about it's like a little cheat. So if you are out and you are painting from life, which is like the best way, sometimes capturing it in your camera first, just to help you make those compositional choices of what you want it to be, and how you want it framed will be good. So this, like having this really dark and light here, is kind of interesting, and it's going to maybe bring me up to this orange roof line, which I want brighter because it really is brighter right now. Oftentimes, like at night when I'm painting the back bay or the sunset, I don't even see these houses. I rarely include them. I paint like as if nobody lived there because I like that idea too. But I kind of like the houses right now and the way it's looking. So maybe I'll capture that. The but again, you can say, hey, I don't want houses in my painting. So you can leave them out and just have the trees and the hillside and the water. So those are all your choices as an artist that you get to make. You can move a tree over. You could say, I want one tree instead of two, or I want a third tree in there. So whatever it is you want to do, you can do because it's your painting. All right. So I'm going to show a little bit about that, I think. Um, let's see. Let me get paint out and we'll get this figured out here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little sketch. I think you can see this. A little sketch of just with my sketch and wash. And then I'm going to go in with paint. If I go super light with this, or even with just a regular pencil, you can come in. I like the sketch and wash or even a watercolor pencil going going light with it, you can blend it right in seamlessly to your, seamlessly right into your painting, and you won't even notice. So just finding the way that the branch is, noticing how it's coming out from the tree, the different branches. And then, like I said, I really want that roof line here. So I want to get some indication of that. And then I'm just going to go right away into color because I want to like remember where my whites are. So that's why I'm drawing a few lines so I don't mess up and put color in where I don't want it. The hillsides come in. It's just helping me decide. I might do a smaller version of this in a thumbnail sketch. It's a good way to handle it. Sometimes just, if you are drawing it, just kind of understanding the way just the shapes and the things. That's like enough information for me. You might want more information. So it's whatever you need. You can put more down for sure and more detail, but keeping it loose is going to let me be loose with my watercolor and let it go the directions that maybe that the water wants to go. All right, so I'm going to get out brush and water. Do this. Okay, so I've got rinsing. All right. Color on here. Okay, so I am going to start just because I really want to make sure I get that roof line in like I like it. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of, oops, get the blender free. Mix up a little orange. A little more pink in that orange. Should have kept it over on that side. Oh well. I've got the orange that I think I want, and at least just get the idea of that down there. And again, it doesn't have to be exact. It can just be really loose. Remember, it's watercolor, so we're going to let the water have some fun. I know I'll be going back in to do whatever fixing up I want, but I'm just going to try to be super, super loose with all of this right now and just see where it goes. I'm going to get some of my other, like pulling down some of that orange too, down into that hillside, because I feel like there's like a little bit of that. Kind of color mapping is one of the things I like to do, where I have some of each color everywhere. So once I put a little bit down and I see, oh yeah, there's like a little bit in that tree I could see, not much, but there's like a little bit where the sun is coming through and I can notice that same orange. And it's nice just to be able to pull that. That will go brighter, that will dull out as I put greens around it, but it's there. So it's kind of neat just to play with these ideas and get them down. Okay, that hill's coming around. I keep wondering if I'm going to actually put this tree in or not. I'm like so captivated by the roof line. Okay, so now I want to mix up some greens, which I've got a little bit on here already. So I'll go with some of the ones I have for now. As the greens back and the behind the roof are going to be softer, not quite that bright that I'm putting down, but oh well. They'll go softer. Some of them are bright the way the sun is hitting. It's okay. But I can also blue them down. So adding a teeny bit of blue in with that. That's all that it takes. Remember when we were mixing greens the other day? Just the other week, whenever that was. Getting some of that. Again, we just want loosely. It's not going to be you finished painting it all. I'm just trying to get some of the color down there that we can then go in and play with. Of course, we'll explore more of this in landscapes too. Remember that what we're doing, if you're not out doing an outdoor one and want to set up a still life, you're going to have the same principles as far as where is your light, what is getting your attention. And with that, that's half of it. Just figuring out what it is that's captivating you. Once you have what it is that's captivating you, then you can start saying, oh yeah, that's where I want to draw my viewers' attention. That's what I really want to paint. So you can be painting from life right in your own living room and just noticing the way the light is hitting the bookshelf and painting that. It doesn't matter if it's an outdoor scene. I'm just getting this because it's out my window. So getting some sky in, and I'm just going on one brush right now. Okay, I know that dark is going to come in, but I wanted to keep that white and I forgot. So I'm going to pick up some of that right now with the dry brush. So if you do what I just did and say, "Ooh, I wanted to preserve that white and I forgot where that branch is," I can come back in with the dry brush, pick up that part. Okay, so I'll be able to fix that after for that branch. And go on the other side of it with my blue and whatever. Because I was thinking, well, it doesn't really matter because I'm going over with the dark branch. But then I thought, oh no, but that's where that light of that dark branch is. So I'm just popping in color. You can go and you can do super neat way of your sky with a really beautiful wash where you're going straight across. You're letting the water work. So remember some of that fun part of watercolor that way. I'm treating this kind of more like a sketch because I'm moving fast with it, but either way is fine. I know I'm going to be like moving over here with more greens too. That's going to cover that. So, you know, be as loose or as deliberate as you want with all of this. I'm just going to get more background color in, or foreground actually, as I'm coming down the hill. I've got a big area of bright yellow green here. So just again, just loosely getting some color in, blocking in my colors. I'm letting it travel around. And some more yellow. That gets like super bright there. And a little purple-ish. Actually, that's green. I'll get that green in there. And I'll get the purple. Kind of like a little heathery area here. I'm not sure. It always looks kind of red. So once I have that, I've got my, I pretty much have my color filled with what I want. So that kind of gives you an idea. We let that dry, we come back in and we keep refining. And it's sort of this game, we go back and forth, like you could be working on more than one. I'll probably go in with this tree branch as this dries. And just kind of go back and forth with the painting till you've got the detail or whatever it is that you want. So let's see, is this starting to dry? I can start mixing hopefully suitable brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this ultramarine blue, pop it over here. I'm going to take some of my alizarin crimson. I think that's that one. Pop that in. I'm getting a purple, a little bit of yellow. So pretty much every color mixed together is going to make brown. So, like we're trying to avoid making brown. Here I'm trying to make brown for that tree. It's going to do fine for part of the trunk, and then I'm going to want to go darker. So I'm just going to lay in that first part, not the light at the very top, but just kind of drawing it down. And again, this one coming out. Yeah, that way. I don't have the rest of my tree kind of come up there. I think I've got one more branch. I do. There's a branch coming in here. I can do if I want. Don't have to. I could say, oh, that's enough. I just want part of it. That's going to come down a lot darker there. So maybe that's what's going to frame my thing. This is that branch that comes around. Okay, so we could sort of see it. I didn't like too much in there because it's wet, but we're letting the color do what the color does. And that's really fun. Now I can go in with a neutral tint and darken that brown. That's really dark. but I'll add to it. Again, I'll add more of my alizarin crimson. See how that's getting purpley. A little bit more of that ultramarine blue that's on there. Now getting this nice dark that's going to be good for the underside of that branch, the underside of the branch. So it's just defining it more. This is what we're talking about, values in color. So you've seen the values in the grayscale. Now it's like noticing the values that you're actually seeing. When it's in color, it can be sort of tricky to see them all the time. But if we notice that the branch was lighter at the top and darker at the bottom, but there's still shades of brown, right? That is value. It can get lost. So we'll show you as we go along. I'll show you how we can accentuate. So like as I'm putting a little bit of this in now because it's wet on wet. So I'm going to go in wet on wet with a little bit of blue. That's causing it to turn under even further. The blue is really nice. If I was just doing black, that would not be as pretty, right? Or as realistic. So adding those in, I think it's helping. Let's see, now I have this kind of bluish purple on here. I'm going to sort of define a little bit of this house with the roof line because this part is dry, so I can work this area a little bit. And I'm just going to keep with the same brush because it's nice and square. It helps me to do straight lines sometimes. So just kind of getting the idea of that there's buildings, there's windows, there's doorways, there's awnings, there's all these different things going on in this house. Houses, I guess it's a line of more than one house. Or somebody's super nice one, I'm not sure which. That's just kind of enough to give you an indication. Of course, I can go back in and fix that even more because I won't want it white. It's not, it's got a little bit of color to it. But for now, I'll let those dry and leave it. And that's giving us a good indication of what we're doing. Taking some more of that same purple though too, I can have the trees that are coming up past those. At least start getting those trunks in for those trees. Maybe I'll put, yeah, that works. Yeah, I went too fat with that branch, but oh well. Yeah, it happens. But let's see. It happens, but I don't have to just let it happen. I could fix it, I suppose. So let's see. Good chance to demonstrate lifting again. It's always good to know how to lift. So here we are. Let me make sure we can see it well on the camera. So this part here, I think I just went a little much with. I don't want that. So let me see if I can take it out before it dries. Still wet. This is a messy paper towel. So putting a little bit of water, just clear water on, giving it a little scrub. I can lift with a paper towel. I'm gonna do this again. I can lift with another brush. So taking the brush and picking up that water with another brush works too. Now I've got my branch thinned again. I want to go back in with some blue, fix the sky a bit, but that's okay. Do that. Even wet on wet is nice just to come back in and let that blend. Yeah, kind of. Get more of the cerulean blue out. Anyway, it gives you enough to see that we're going the right direction. Anyway, you get the idea. As we just kind of continue to build this, we're getting a little bit of, see now this is starting to lighten out. See how we've got a line forming there? That we might want to get rid of because it's flattening out our tree, or add two. So one way is to just add two with more color. The other way is to kind of softly scrub it out. And again, I'm being like really loose with this. This is just honestly, I just want it to be hopefully inspirational in that it's not exact, that it's not so particular, that you guys can do this. You absolutely can do this. So I'm mixing up some green now that's like super bright. I want to mix up a puddle that's a lot more blue because this is going to be that tree in the background a little bit. So let me see. It's got a little bit of color, but not nearly as bright as of yellow because it's further back. What happens is we have sort of an atmospheric perspective, and that's as things go back, they get lighter, hazier, bluer. So there's lots of ways of looking at it. Start noticing when you're out, what color would you choose if you see the same thing? What would you do? And just notice. Sometimes the light might hit it in a different way and it doesn't look that, but usually you can go by some certain rules that as it goes back, it is going to get bluer. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's light coming in at such an angle that it's really catching some of those leaves and they're brighter. And it kind of messes with you and plays with you because like, oh, but I know they're further back. They should be, you know, they shouldn't be that, stand out that much. So those are the things that we kind of notice. We start looking at, we start playing with ideas. The brush area here that's, I want to define that further. You're looking at shapes. You know how we talked about everything breaks down into shapes. As we're doing landscapes later too, we'll get into this more, how you just start, you're not painting leaves, you're painting this area, right? That's kind of a triangle. And maybe it has like, you know, ill-defined, so you've got the idea of leaves, but you're not actually painting and drawing each leaf or each part of the bush or whatever. You're noticing shapes. Every big shape breaks down into smaller shapes, and everything can be, you know, in nature, it's a lot more organic shapes, but you usually can say, oh, that's kind of like a triangle, or that's kind of squarish. You start relating to what you know. All right, so I'm gonna come back to my house area and go with sort of a bluish, just really a lot of water and a little bit of blue. I just want to glaze over that because I don't want it that bright. And then as we're coming down that hillside, I've got some kind of bright green, the way that the sun is hitting it. When you're doing landscapes, and we'll talk more about this when we're actually focusing on landscapes, but good to note. When you're doing them, a lot of times, light shifts fast and you can't always keep up with it. So it's really about what do you see right now, but it can't be just about what do you see right now, because unless you're painting super fast, that's going to change. So you have to sort of just commit to it. Say, okay, that's, you know, this is the part I want to get. This is, and then commit it to your memory or whatever, because it's going to change as the light shifts, and the light does shift. All right, so we're covering more and more. We're getting to a little bit more. I'm not going to do a super detailed one of this because my light is changing and I'm not committing. But no, I just, mainly the purpose of this is to say, you know, look, what is your focal? What do you want to accentuate? What do you want people to notice? You're going to need to keep going back in and, you know, adding, right? If you're doing, you know, because as the watercolor dries, of course, it gets lighter. So now if we're really thinking about values, which is kind of our focus today, the stuff that's closest to you, like this tree, is going to go way darker than this area. I want it still that area because I like the roof line, but this part, value-wise is going to go way, way darker than what I have it even. And as things dry, you lose some of that definition and value. So if you really want to get the idea that this tree is up close and personal, oops, went a little bit darker than I wanted. You kind of just need to keep going over and over again until you have what you want to have. Right, I'm kind of losing where that light was coming in on that branch. So again, I want to go in with a little bit of color that's going to define the branch a little better. But really be more about the sky that's behind it. So I'll drag that up. And again, with watercolor, it's always, yes, yeah, now I'm losing that branch. It's getting all blurry, but that's okay. We can play with it. Sometimes getting a little sponge, dragging things around, whatever works for you. I'll pick up some of that color that blurred on that branch right there. But that's okay that that blurred, because I might, like, later as this dries, I'll get some pine needles going in there and we'll maybe make that even more than it is, or we can call it at that. So hopefully, yeah, just realizing not seeing that whole thing. Yeah, there. Anyway, that's my blurred part. So it's really okay. This is starting to come together. We'll define it further. You get it to a point that you like it. This I want darker, but I'm gonna have to let that dry, come back in. So maybe we'll pick this back up again in our Zoom and focus in a little bit more. But the main part of me showing you this was just to help you know that you can pick those areas of what's important. You could pick this roof line or the tree or whatever. You pick out your composition. You can leave things out, you can put things in, you can be messy and muddy, or not muddy, but messy with it. Let the watercolor go, and then come in on some more areas and be more specific. If I want to come back in, even like with a sketch and wash, and really define this tree further that way and get some texture on, I can do that. Let's just see what that looks like. I was liking the blue a lot anyway, the paint of the watercolor, but sometimes it's just something like that that's going to be enough to, like, okay, the tree is closer to me now. Getting that branch too as well, for sure. The underside of that branch, going really dark with it, it's going to be an interesting thing, possibly, or I might be just like really destroying this. But it's okay because it's just paper. But that's enough to, like, okay, that tree is closer, this is behind. Now, what's interesting as I'm looking now, it's like sometimes you have to get away from your painting to see these things. And it's okay because, you know, I can tear this page off and start again, but my roof line is right in line with the tree. That's called a tangent. I didn't have to keep the branch right there in line with the roof line. I could have brought this down a little bit lower or up a little higher and not have it go right along, right through that area that I was most excited about. I'm not sure why I did that, but that's what we do. We do these things and it's like, oh, darn, that isn't really working. It's okay. I'll probably do another one and fix that, you know, and look at it a little bit differently. Because even if it is doing that, I don't have to put it right there. I can move it. Those are those kind of choices that we get. So I like when I make these huge mistakes, because then you guys can learn from my mistakes and say, oh, yay, I'm allowed to move that. It's okay. Or maybe you like it in line. I think it's a tangent and it can confuse the drawing. I think it would have been better if that wasn't doing that, but that's a compositional choice. And as we get more and more into compositions, hopefully we'll be talking about this. Not hopefully, we will be talking about this more. So let me get back to camera here. So hopefully we've learned something from this. All right. Yeah. Have a great day.